Hello everyone, this is Dog Martin back with another Super Animal Royale video. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at some mechanics that aren't commonly known in SAR. This game looks very simple on the surface, but there are a lot of hidden mechanics that can help you survive in specific situations. If you have 1,000 hours in the game, you probably already know all of these, but stick around anyways in case I surprise you with something new. This video is sponsored by myself. Hope you enjoy. Gas hitbox. The gas can be pretty tricky to play around, especially in closed areas, but did you know the gas only damages you if your feet are in it? You don't have to be entirely inside the circle to be safe from the gas. This can give you some pretty helpful spots in small circles because players won't often look in tight spaces. They will just see the gas taking up the area and assume no one is there. The hunting rifle. This weapon isn't too popular with newer players, but it can actually be extremely powerful at times. Something a lot of players might not know is that you can reload the hunting rifle faster if you press your reload button instead of your fire button. I believe this happens because every semi-automatic weapon in the game has a firing delay, where you can't spam shoot the weapon. And despite the hunting rifle only having one bullet, it still has this firing delay. So when you shoot to reload, it activates the firing delay, making your next bullet take longer to fire. But pressing the reload button does not activate this delay and might even reset it, which means you can shoot bullets quicker by manually reloading your hunting rifle. But you don't have to know why it happens, you can just take advantage of this knowledge and spam fire your hunting rifle super fast to scare your targets. You can speed this up even more with the Bandoleer's 10% faster reload if you're insane enough to try that. Long muzzles. Some weapons in the game have longer muzzles than others, or the place the bullets come out are further away from your animal than usual. For example, shotguns and snipers are long barreled, and of course the bullets still come out of the end of the barrel. Usually this doesn't matter because of how aiming works in SAR, but if you shoot immediately after jump rolling with these weapons, it can actually offset your shot because of the jump roll's animation moving the barrel of the weapon. This is extremely situational, and it can actually mess up your aim in a lot of cases, but you can sometimes use this to your advantage by shooting around corners without fully exposing yourself to enemies. This takes lots of practice, and there aren't too many places where it would be useful, so be careful with this one. Recoil patterns. This one is probably known by most experienced players, but did you know that almost every weapon has a consistent recoil pattern at the beginning? In other words, when you hold down your fire button to shoot your SMG, the first 4 bullets will always be offset in the same directions as long as your recoil already reset. This is true for nearly every weapon in the game, and it's pretty notable for magnums and deagles. Their recoil patterns are for the first 3 bullets, which is pretty powerful because this is usually enough to kill a player at medium ranges unless they have level 3 armor. For sake of time, I won't go too in depth with each weapon's recoil pattern, but I'll put a list of numbers for recoil patterns on the screen. You can pause the video if you want to see how many bullets have a consistent recoil pattern for each weapon. You can practice these patterns at the shooting range to improve your aim with specific weapons, and this knowledge is surprisingly useful for becoming better at landing most of your shots. Controller movement. It took me a long time to realize this, but players who use a keyboard for movement actually have a built-in momentum mechanic which makes changing directions a little delayed. SAR handles movement pretty well, so it's hard to even notice this movement delay. But if you play on controller, this momentum doesn't exist at all. This means controller players can move much more freely, and are usually better at weaving around shots or peeking around cover. But before you decide to play on controller, a lot of people consider it much harder to aim weapons with an analog stick compared to a mouse, so the trade-off might not be worth it if you're used to having high accuracy. Quantum throwables. Throwables like grenades, cat mines, skunk bombs, and bananas can all be thrown through certain walls in the game. And no, I don't mean throwing them over objects. The most common examples are the left wall of the shooting range, the garage door at Saw Security HQ, and through small tent corners. The tent one is especially tricky because you have to aim at just the right angle or it won't work. While this mechanic is extremely situational, this is probably more of an unintentional bug, so take advantage of it before it gets patched in the next update. Explosive barrels. This one is probably the most situational advice on this list, but did you know that explosive barrels actually damage you through walls? A lot of people don't know this because grenades are the only other explosive in the game, and hiding behind a wall or solid object is a great way to avoid taking damage from a grenade, but explosive barrels don't care about their environment. I tried setting up some funny traps to take advantage of this information, but I have to admit that this will almost never come in handy whenever you're playing the game seriously. Translucent objects. It can be really hard to find some players when they're hiding, but here's a useful tip. Whenever you're looking for someone who is hiding, don't look for their super animal. Instead, look at your surroundings to see if anything looks see-through. Nearly every object in the game becomes slightly transparent when a super animal is behind it. You can keep an eye out for this by looking at trees and walls to see if they're see-through. If they are, there's someone hiding behind it. Tricky hitboxes. This might be one of the lesser known tips on this list, and it can actually be pretty useful at times. Your super animal's hitbox is actually directly tied to its visual model. This might seem obvious, but this applies to any animations you do, including jump rolling. While this might not seem like a huge deal, you can use this to dodge shots coming towards you. And one obscure tip that many players don't know is that you can use this to jump against objects that are above you, especially walls. since your hitbox is mostly raised above the wall. This will make it so shots will hit the wall before they hit you. This generally makes it much less likely that you'll get hit. It can be hard to apply this to many combat scenarios, but if you find yourself below a wall or a long object, you can use this to evade a player's bullets for a short period of time. Immortal ziplines. Ziplines are probably the most useless throwable in the game at the time of making this video. But there is one thing ziplines can do that throwables can't. You are actually immortal as long as you're riding a zipline. This immortality ends as soon as you reach the end of the zipline, but if you ever get down while riding a zipline, you won't actually die until reaching the zipline's end. This might not seem useful, but in rare cases it can lead to a win and some heal-offs. And that concludes this video. If you're a new player, then I hope these niche tips help you improve at the game. And if you're an experienced player, let me know in the comments if you learned anything new. Also, feel free to tell me any obscure tips of your own. I want to know everything about this game. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. Or night. See ya later.